Is it okay if I put this on your phones? I hope it won't interfere with the... Okay. You can place it like that. So thank you very much once again for responding to our invitation. We are here as the Police Reforms Working Group Kenya, and our focus in the next 9 months is security and safety for all Kenyans, or what we call electoral security. And we've been here in a retreat to reflect on the basic minimums to guarantee safe and secure electoral environment in the electioneering period 2022. And we do note the bleak and dire security situation in the country that requires urgent action to inspire public confidence in security and elections management in Kenya. As we approach the general elections, we are deeply concerned by the disturbing trend of increased extrajudicial executions and enforced disappearances in various parts of the country. And in this, we would like to underscore that we do have evidence through families and victims that we have supported in the last few years that it might be possible that a good number of these extrajudicial executions are officially sanctioned. And that is very worrying for us as we head to the elections, where we have different parties contesting for political power. The elections management and outcomes in Kenya continue to pose security and safety challenges, which the country needs to address in order to achieve a free, fair, transparent, and peaceful elections. So far, there are inadequate linkages and accountability mechanisms within the criminal justice system with respect to security and electoral justice. On this particular point, we would like to underscore the need for those in charge of security in the country and the criminal justice system to ensure that all those who commit offenses, electoral-related offenses, must be held to account for us to have a free, fair, and acceptable general election. Public order management during the elections remains a key challenge so far, which, if not well managed, could lead to serious disharmony in the upcoming general elections. We also note that there's a need to pay keen attention to the issue of sexual and gender-based violence, since this has become an issue of great concern as we approach the general elections. You do know that in the 2017 general elections, we had serious violations related to sexual violence of women and girls and also men. And again, during the COVID-19 responses to last year and even now, sexual and gender-based violence has really increased. And so that needs to be an issue of security as we prepare for the general elections. We also note that despite a lot of efforts channeled towards police reforms, recent occurrences point to the fact that attainment of police accountability still remains a challenge that requires to be addressed collectively by all stakeholders. I'll invite my colleague, Oral, to read two of these points here, and then we go to our recommendations.
My name is Wilfred Olal, the National Convener, the Social Justice Centers Working Group. That the principles and values of election security management need to be adhered to and upheld by all concerned parties, particularly the police and the political parties. We note that there is a weak supervision by the command structure of the National Police Service, thereby leaving a loophole for junior officers to abuse and misuse their powers.
Everybody, my name is Sheila Masinde. I'm the Executive Director of Transparency International Kenya. So I will go ahead to read the recommendations that we have set out as the Police Reform Working Group based on the points that my colleagues Kiama and Wilfred have shared. So in consideration of the above, as the Police Reforms Working Group, we make the following recommendations. 1, that there must be deliberate efforts by Kenyans to encourage partnership and collaboration among election security agencies and other key stakeholders. Secondly, that the police uphold and respect the rule of law and human rights, including the right to picket and assemble as articulated in the Constitution and relevant laws. Third, that the Election Security Arrangement Program, ESAP, is opened up to broader stakeholder participation and to include civil society. Fourth, that the Election Security Arrangement Program ensures that the election security management plans are gender responsive. Fifth, that there is need for the Election Security Arrangement Program to ensure that there is centralized, non-threatening, non-divisive, timely, and unambiguous communication in relation to election security management. I now invite our colleague Mutanu to continue with the rest of the recommendations.
Thank you, Catherine Mutanu from CRECO, Constitution and Reform Education Consortium. I continue. 6th. We recommend that there is a coordinated multi-agency approaches within a structured partnership and collaboration framework to enhance transparency and accountability in election management. 7, that there is need for depoliticization of election management organs, including shielding of IEBC and NPS from the influence of the executive, the legislature, and other political actors. 8, that IEBC ensures there is fairness and impartiality immediately before, during, and after the elections. 9th, while we recognize the efforts made by the Inspector General of Police to prepare elections management guidelines for public order management under the use of force and firearms, we call on the Inspector General of Police to immediately gazette and operationalize these guidelines. This statement is signed on this day today of the 20th of October 2021 by members of the Police Reforms Working Group Kenya, which is an alliance of national and grassroots organizations committed to professional and the rule of law policing.
Kwa lugha ya taifa nitajaribu kufupisha yale yaliyosemwa hapa ili tuweze pia kupata hii hotuba kwa lugha ya Kiswahili. Kwa ufupi, hiki ni kikundi kinachopendekeza mabadiliko katika idara ya polisi, na tumekuwa hapa tangu Jumapili tarehe 17 hadi leo tukiwa tunajadiliana hasa kuhusu kura za uchaguzi ambazo zitafanyika mwaka ujao mwezi wa Agosti. Na katika kutathmini kwetu tumeona kwamba kuna shida hapa na pale ambazo zinafaa kutekelezwa kwa umuhimu mkubwa. Kwanza ni kwamba tunaona hali ya usalama katika nchi ni ya kutatanisha sana. Wakenya wanaendelea kuishi na uoga wakiwa wana wasiwasi mwingi ya kura zitakazokuja mwaka ujao. Vile vile tunasema kwamba tumeghadhabishwa na hali ya mauaji ya kiholela yanayoendelea na kupotezwa kwa watu katika sehemu tofauti za nchi yetu hii ya Kenya. Wasiwasi wetu ni kwamba huenda ikawa matukio haya ya watu kuuawa na wengine kupotezwa huenda ikawa yanafanywa na serikali ikiwa inaelewa na pia kwingine inatekeleza baadhi ya mauaji haya na kupotezwa kwa watu. Vile vile tuko na wasiwasi kuhusu usimamizi wa kura na ikiwa hali haitachukuliwa ya dharura, huenda tukakosa kuwa na uchaguzi wa huru ambao uko wazi na wa usalama. Kwa hivyo kama kikundi kinachopendekeza mabadiliko katika idara ya polisi, tuko na mapendekezo ambayo tunataka yaweze kuchukuliwa ili kudhibiti ile hali tuweze kuwa na uchaguzi wa sawa. Kwanza kabisa tunataka kuwashinikiza Wakenya popote pale walipo wahakikishe kwamba kuna uwiano, kuna kushirikiana na kufanya kazi kwa pamoja kwa wale wote wahusika katika nchi yetu hii ya Kenya, ili tuchangie kwa pamoja katika uchaguzi huru na wa haki. Ya pili, tunasema kwamba polisi lazima wasimame na watekeleze mapendekezo ya katiba ya Kenya pamoja na sheria ambazo zilizopo. Mauaji ya kiholela na kupotezwa kwa watu hayafai kufanyika katika nchi yetu hii, hasa wakati huu ambapo Wakenya wanajitayarisha kwenda katika uchaguzi. Ya tatu, kwamba kuna kikundi ambacho kinafaa kusimamia usalama wa kura ama ESAP. Tunapendekeza kikundi hiki kiweze kupanuliwa ili wahusika wengine pia waweze kushiriki katika usimamizi huo wa usalama wa kura. Na sisi kama makundi ya kijamii tunasema lazima tuhusishwe katika kikundi hicho, ndio na sisi tuweze kutoa mchango wetu wa kuhakikisha kwamba kura zimeweza kusimamiwa kwa njia ya usalama. Vile vile tunasema kwamba hiki kikundi cha ESAP lazima kihakikishe kwamba yale yote yanayofanywa katika usimamizi wa kura ni yale ambayo yataleta uwiano, yatapunguza vitisho, na vile vile kutakuwa na mawasiliano ya wazi kabisa ambayo hayana tashwishi katika kueleweka kwake. Vile vile tunasema kwamba lazima tutoe siasa katika usimamizi wa kura. IEBC pamoja na idara ya usalama ama polisi hawafai kwa njia yoyote ile kuingiliwa katika utendakazi wao. Waachwe wafanye kazi inavyopasa, kwa sababu wao ni makundi ambayo yanafaa kuwa huru katika kutekeleza kazi yao. Vile vile tunapendekeza kwamba tume ya uchaguzi ihakikishe kwamba kuna uwazi kabla, siku ya uchaguzi na baada ya uchaguzi, ili kila mtu ajisikie kwamba amehusika kwa njia ambayo ni ya sawa kabisa. Ya mwisho tunasema, japokuwa tunatambua bidii za Inspector General katika kuandaa zile guidelines pamoja na sheria zingine za utumiaji wa silaha, tunasema kuna umuhimu ahakikishe kwamba guidelines hizo zimeweza kuwa gazetted na waweze kuzitekeleza haraka iwezekanavyo, kwa sababu hizo ndizo zitakazotuongoza hasa katika kipindi hiki ambacho kinakuja, na Wakenya wakiwa na wasiwasi itakuwa ni jambo la kusikitisha. So ziweze kuwa gazetted na ziweze kutekelezwa haraka iwezekanavyo. Hii hotuba imetayarishwa na makundi 21 ambayo yanafanya kazi kwa pamoja katika kuhakikisha kwamba idara ya polisi imeweza kufanya kazi yao kwa mujibu wa katiba na sheria zetu za Kenya. Nafikiri hadi hapo sasa tutauliza kama kuna maswali yoyote, tutaweza kujibu. Naam. Yes, Mariam alafu Galgal. Asante. And civic education again. We have the statistics we'll share. Any other question? Maybe we can take 3, 4, and then we'll agree who will respond. Yes.
My question is, the NCIC, so far up to date, maybe they have not coordinated somehow on how they are planning to arrange or maybe arrange some of the issues that are being raised outside the organization. Maybe so far, you as an organization, you say that you are doing smart.
Yes.
Is there any way that you are linking the NCIC with issues to do with insecurity so far?
Okay. Anyone else? Allow me to ask Mr. Kiama to go first, and then the rest of us will also contribute. Okay, so on the civic education, you'll respond to that? I can respond to the facts and figures.
Okay. All right. We now respond to your questions. I will speak to the issue of extrajudicial executions and enforced disappearances. The point we are making here is that if you look at the statistics that you'll be given, you look at the statistics from the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, you'll see that the numbers of extrajudicial police killings, the numbers of torture and ill treatment, the numbers of enforced disappearances have been going up. And this year, especially for enforced disappearances, there has been a serious escalation. And in most of these cases, the evidence we have is that a good number of these people are disappearing in police custody. And we would like to address the nation and say this, that Kenyans must be worried and have a reason to be worried. Because in this country, we have come to a point where the pro box is a reason to fear. If you see a pro box near you, you better run. If you see a double cabin pickup, you better run. If you see a Subaru, you better run. That is where we are as a country. Not only in Mombasa, but also in Nairobi, in Rift Valley, in Northeastern. Double cabin pickups have become tools of torture, tools of disappearances, and tools of death, used by security agencies in this country. We have reason to believe, as I said earlier, that some of these killings are officially sanctioned, that we have agents, security agents embedded in security operations for the sole purpose of abductions, torture, and killings. And we have seen that in the operations in Baringo, in Laikipia, since March this year. People have disappeared in security operations, in security zones where nobody else can enter apart from the multi-agency teams. We would like an answer from the Minister for Interior to explain to us who else can access a security operation zone where everybody else, including the media, have been kept out, except those security agencies themselves. In Baringo in March, we had 7 people abducted, some of them public servants, tortured, killed, shot dead, 1 bullet to the head. To date, those 6 deaths, including an IABC official in charge of that district, a TSC official, a student, those 6 deaths have never been accounted for. Around the same time this year, and I'm just giving you examples, there are many examples even here in Mombasa. So it's a national tragedy that we are discussing. So we are saying somebody must account for that. And as we head to the elections, we are saying this, that if we can't be able to account for those deaths, for those cases of torture and enforced disappearances in security operations, what will happen to us when we go to the elections, when we know that there are serious security threats that come with the elections? That's a concern we have. So we're saying, let's deal with these issues before we get to the elections. The other serious concern we found that is leading to these violations is the lack of inspection of police stations by the commanders. The lack of inspections by the commanders has reached crisis proportions. We have realized that maybe less than 30% of police stations across the country are inspected. So about 70% are left uninspected. As you are aware, the job of police commanders, especially the OCPDs, is to visit and inspect their police stations, check on police conduct, check on police grievances, check on the conditions of the station itself. You as media have visited those police stations. A good number of them are in very bad conditions. Most of the police stations, you can not get a P3 form or even an accident abstract. You have to go outside the gate to photocopy. So we're saying the lack of inspection, the dereliction of duty by commanders is leading to these violations and indiscipline within the National Police Service. We would like this to be addressed before we go to the elections, because it's a risk to our security during elections. I think I'll leave it there for the civic education and NCIC. We'll leave it to Catherine to come and speak to it.
Thank you very much, Catherine Mutanu Kreko. And we want to say, in terms of civic education, organizations that are dealing with civic education have tried. But however, if you read through our recommendation, number 7, we've talked about politicization of election, the IEBC. And if you look at all this, it totals up to the budgetary allocation. The budget that the IEBC was supposed to receive, factoring in civic education, did not come to be. And unlike other election years where we have had civic educators from IEBC, you realize this time we do not have. So we do not have a complementary. IEBC has totally neglected his work. A lot of money went to media. We are told local stations in some areas. And when you attend those meetings at the national government offices, that is the county commissioners' offices and other areas, they still want to use the top-down instructions that the chiefs and the assistant chiefs should assist. But there is no money. There's no budgetary allocation. We cannot actually also leave aside the issue of voter apathy amongst the youth, who do not want to vote because they still think even after voting in the elections, nothing comes to be. So there's a lot of voter apathy. There's lack of budgetary allocation. As organizations, we have tried to do civic education. We shall not tire because that's our niche. But this voter education must be enhanced. It must be insisted on, but you're going to have a very low turnout. Looking at the statistics yesterday, I think it was as less than 33% of what was expected within the last 2 weeks. So still there's so much to be done. It seems the government is not even serious about it. So we say this is probably by design that we are ending up at these numbers from the politicians and people who are interfering with the IEBC. Thank you.
So for the statistics, and maybe even before we go to statistics, just to emphasize the point that has been raised by my colleague, on the issue of elections, and particularly the issue of funding, we are very, very concerned by the move to stop funding for IEBC, but then also civil society in general. This is a very, very... Is that okay? Yeah, so we're saying that we are deeply concerned by the move to stop funding for IEBC directly, by government deciding that any funds to IEBC must be channeled through the government. This probably is what is also contributing to the state of affairs we are seeing presently, because Kenyans are not even aware, majority of them, of what is happening, the voter registration exercise. We only have 1 month, and this can be attributed to the fact that IEBC, who have publicly come forward to state that they have a budget deficit, and government must, with immediate effect, ensure that IEBC is properly funded and to stop the restrictions that they have put so far on them receiving funds directly from donors. And this is for Kenyans to understand that when IEBC is not properly funded, when they do not have the necessary resources, when stakeholders, whether it's the police or the civil society, and this is responding to Galgalo's and Mariam's issue, when the government limits the resources that are made available to key stakeholders to be able to play their part, to be able to do their job in enhancing free and fair elections, then it is Kenyans who will be suffering. So we want this to be out there very openly, that you cannot claim to be in support of free, fair, transparent, and peaceful elections, yet you are limiting resources to key stakeholders who are supposed to be agents of enhancing that free, fair, transparent, and peaceful elections. When it comes to statistics, so far, through our partner Missing Voices, which again, majority of the members here are part of Missing Voices, extrajudicial killings at this point in time are at 39 across the country, and enforced disappearances, 47. So 39 so far. These are the ones that have been documented. Of course, it means there are many more out there that have not come to the attention of the key players. So we have 39 extrajudicial killings that have been reported and documented by the Missing Voices, and 47 enforced disappearances. So far, this is just the year 2021. Any other question, or we are good? Brian. Okay, we will have to check that, but of course we know the costs. We know Nairobi, and of course Baringo and Laikipia have also a number. Oh, sorry, Northeastern. So let me just repeat that. The coast, Nairobi, Baringo, Laikipia, and Northeastern. These are the hotspots for extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances.
And maybe after this, we'll be able to give you also maybe a copy of some of those statistics for your reference.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. We appreciate your support.
Thank you very much. Great. Yeah. Well.
But it was edited, it was not, yeah.
Livingston. Tutapata printers.